Hey guys, Nowicki here with another episode of the KNStrongman Blog. So this week I put a post out on the Starting Strongman page on Facebook, brief introduction of who I am, what I've accomplished in the sport, and saying that I've started this blog and really the basis behind it, which is to help other athletes. Starting Strongman is a great resource on Facebook. It's been made by Cale Beck, basically to help newer athletes into the sport, but I feel that anyone can really gain from it. My opinion is as soon as you stop gaining experience from others, that's when you start failing at your sport. So basically I put a post out, who I am, and then questions, get a sort of question and answer thing going here, really try and aid other athletes with what I've gained from my experiences in the sport. So basically I had a question from Becky Wilson this week, and her question was, how has implementing recovery techniques into my routine aided my performance? So I'm lucky enough that I work with a great therapist called Justin Willis, based out of Teamwork Therapy and Sports Performance in North Glen, Colorado. And Justin has worked with some very, very high level athletes, Mike Burke and Brian Shaw to be specific. So he is very, very well versed in how to get a strongman ready for competition. So we do a thing there called Fascial Stretch Therapy. It is basically assisted stretching. If you think of regular stretching, this is traditional regular stretching. Whereas with fascial stretch, you traction the joint and you can actually come back and get a lot more benefit for what you're doing. So I try and see Justin once a week, just to upper lower body stretching, and you'll see some of that stuff on this episode of the blog. I've got a video from it was the day before Colorado's Strongest Man back in June, so I'm going to embed some of that just so you can get a feel of what that is. And there's fascial stretch therapists all around the country. There's some internationally as well. I know a guy in Australia who just started doing that and he loves it. So basically I'll see Justin once a week. As contest grows nearer, we'll try and up that a little bit. Also depending on if I'm dealing with anything at that point in time. Recently I pulled my calf. So what I did for that, if you take that injury specifically, what I did was, as soon as I did it, got home, I actually picked up a trash can on the way home and filled it with water, filled it with ice, and then just stood in it. Stood in it for 10 minutes at a time, watched TV, let it sit and try and get as much of the inflammation out of that as possible. So within 3-4 days of doing that, I was perfectly fine again. And Justin worked in it. We did a lot of soft tissue work with it, and that really aided it. So in terms of everyday recovery, it depends on how I feel. I'm a big believer in movement-based stretching and mobility stuff rather than statics, traditional stretching. So there's a thing called the Core 4, which is based upon the fascial stretch principles. I'll put a link in here. There's some great videos on YouTube for it. If anyone was at Nationals last year, they would have seen me doing that as my warm-up between events. I also use bands quite a lot for especially hamstring stretching. Use that. If I've had a big session, ice baths, I love them. 48 to 50 degrees, I try and get that, and then I'll just sit in it. And I can only do lower body on my in the bath at the house. I'm getting a tiny bit of lower back in there too, but not too much. It's mostly just legs and some posterior chain, but it works well. I did the same at Nationals. As soon as I got off car deadlift, jumped straight in the ice bath. I actually upped the duration in Nationals. I'll normally do a 10-minute ice bath. I did 15, possibly 20 in Reno, and I woke up the next day and I literally felt like I didn't compete the day before. I felt incredible. So for me, having these small resources, and it doesn't take much to actually research some stuff as well. I feel in strongman the importance of recovery is really undervalued. I'm very lucky that the coach I have working with me actually looks into how he programs his training to maximize recovery. Whereas I feel a lot of other guys who are just going balls to the wall, hitting it hard, they could still train that way but recover a lot better and see better progress from that, just because of implementing some recovery stuff. So really, as I said, mobility, the movement stretching is huge. As I said, I'll put the links on here. I do that. Maybe another time I'll film some of that stuff just before I do events. I'll set up a tripod and I'll film some of that. So that's huge. Trying to get in with an FST practitioner or therapist. There's ones all around the country. As I said, if you go to stretchtowin.com, they have a therapist finder on there. To me, that's been invaluable, and I know to Mike and Brian that has been a very, very big factor in their success. Brian especially. Yeah, so I mean, I could sit here and talk about all these recovery things all night, but mobility, ice baths, if you've really taken it hard, and some people say no, some people say they're not beneficial, but for me, I find they really, really work. Ice baths, mobility stretching, and trying to find a very, very good soft tissue therapist. That's the way to go. Anyway, guys, hopefully that's helpful. Send me your questions. Starting Strongman on the Facebook page, on my Facebook page, KNStrongman. However you want to get in touch, please do. I'd love to help you all. Have a great night. See you later.